Let's go live. Welcome to Life Lessons from Srimad Bhagavatam, where each week, twice a week, we discuss a section of the Bhagavatam and consider lessons that we can apply in life. Today we continue with chapter 79, concerning Lord Balaram. We're continuing with the theme of Lord Balaram. Before we go there, however, I will just chant some verses of invocation as our participants arrive online. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 4. If you know the verse, chant along with me. Narayanam namaskritya, naram chaiva narottamam, devim sarasvatim vyasam, tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Naranarayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Ridyantasto Yabhyat Bhadrani, Vidunoti Suhrit Satam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Next verse we'll recite is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 18. This is a series. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati neishtiki. By regular attendance of the classes on Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. I'll chant one more verse. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 40. Idam Bhagavatam Dhamma Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhyanyam Svastyaya Namahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Dhanyam Svastyayanam Mahat. It brings auspiciousness and happiness to all. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining Shri Gandharvika, my dear wife, here in New York City. At work, I presume, but maybe, no, you're still at work. Well, welcome. Thank you for logging in and joining this class. Achutananda, joining us from the UK, says, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Shama Manjari is joining us from South Africa. Shama Manjari says, Hare Krishna, Sri Prahlad Prabhuji. Kirtina is with us from Norway. Kirtina sending gratitude, flowers. And Janaki is with us from Hungary. Janaki says, Haribol from Janaki Dasi. On Instagram, we have Bhagavatam, a regular participant. We have Mary Manju, 2021, Welcome to you, Ramkesh Kushwa, Dubai, and Instanad is also here. Welcome to all of you. We are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, continuing with Canto 10. And today, specifically, we are discussing the 79th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. If you have any questions, reflections, comments as I speak, don't be shy. Type them into the chat. We can have a further discussion at the end. Our topic, Balaram's protection, pilgrimage, and peacemaking. And once again, this is chapter 79 of the 10th canto. Here's a question for you. I hope your answer is no. Have you ever come under attack while serving? Maybe someone calls you bad names while you're distributing books, or maybe you got physically attacked. This happened to us many times over the years while serving Indrajumna Maharaj. People threw eggs at the Harinam Sankirtan party. People yelled out many obscene things, made obscene gestures. And there were occasions where there was physical violence as well. This happened in Australia. Even in my childhood, I remember incidences of violence from Harinam Sankirtan. But otherwise, our festivals in Poland were attacked. We came under attack in Croatia, in Bosnia as well. And so you might have these experiences. They might be disheartening. Here's an interesting thing for us to reflect on. And that is sages were attacked while doing service in the Bhagavatam as well. Bhagavatam, Ramayana, you have incidences of sages performing sacrifice. And for this and no other reason, they are attacked by envious persons. So some people are conditioned with so much envy of Krishna and the devotees that they will disrupt the sacrifice in this manner. So today we'll discuss one such account, again while discussing Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10, Chapter 79. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We will discuss this chapter under three headings. 1. Balaram protects the sacrifice, verses 1 through to 8. Our second topic, Balaram's pilgrimage, verses 9 to 22. And our third topic, Balaram's peacemaking and sacrifices, verses 23 to 34. We begin with our first topic. Balaram protects the sacrifice. So if you remember the context, in the previous chapter, 78, Balaram had come to Naimisharanya, where sages were performing a sacrifice, and they received him well, all except for Ramaharshana, who was the seater, seated on the elevated seat. Balaram punished him by touching him with kusagrash, which caused him to leave his body. And then the sages were upset. They gave an atonement. They wanted Balaram to keep his act, but they also wanted him to keep the blessings that they had given Ramaharshana. And so Balaram found a way to do that. That's the previous class. But they also gave him an atonement. They said, if you can please kill this demon who attacks our sacrifice. His name is Balvala. They also said that you should go for pilgrimage. And so Balaram, he waited in Naimisharanya. He waited for the dark moon, which is when Balvala would come and disrupt the sacrifice. So the dark moon, it happens every 15 days. Every 30 days. We have a full moon leading up to the full moon. That's called the waxing moon. And then we have a waning moon, after the full moon, 15 days to the dark moon, when the moon is at its smallest. And so during this dark moon, there was a harsh wind that whipped up, and there was a terrible smell that pervaded everywhere. It was a smell of pus. And the wind whipped up lots of dust, so there was a dust storm. And as the sages were performing their sacrifice, and there's this dust storm and there's this pus, there came a downpour of disgusting things into the sacrificial fire. And who was causing all of this? It was the demon Balvala. After the obnoxious things were being sent into the fire, the demon himself appeared. He had a massive form. It was like dark coal, and he had a trident in his hand. He had a beard that was the color of molten copper, and he had a top knot on his head. His face had terrible looking fangs and furrowed eyebrows. Seeing this demon, who's flying through the air and throwing gross things into the sacrificial fire to disrupt it, Balaram, he thought of his two weapons. His weapons are, one of his weapons is hopefully you have it in your mind, the plow. Balaram's name is Haladara. Hala means plow, Dara means to hold. Like Krishna, he has names like Venudhara or Murlidhara. Venu and Murli, these are two of Krishna's flutes. Krishna is also called Dhanurdhara. He carries the bow, or he's called Chakradhara. He carries the Sudarshan disc. So Balaram's name is Haladara. He carries a plow. So he thought of his plow and it arrived. And he thought of his other weapon, that was his club. Balaram's very expert in the use of the club. And in fact, he trained Duryodhana in using the club. Excuse me. So just by thinking about his weapons, they arrived. And with his plow, Balaram, he caught the demon Balvala as he was flying through the sky. And he pulled him in close. And then with his club, he struck the demon in the head and thereby killed him. And the sages were very pleased. They glorified Balaram. They offered him gifts. And the main gift that they gave was a beautiful Vaijayanti garland of unfading flowers. A Vaijayanti garland is a garland of 5 different types of flowers and extends down to the knees. This garland is very special because the flowers never fade. They also gave him garments, they gave him ornaments, and they offered him an abhishek, a ritual bath to express their gratitude. We can pause here and just reflect on Balaram as the nourisher and protector of bhakti. In Balaram's confronting Balvala, he uses his plow and a club. And so we can think about these two weapons of Baladev. Baladev is also Adi Guru. So we can think about these weapons in relation to us and how he can support us and help us in bhakti. The plow we can think of in terms of the agricultural metaphor of plowing the field. Balaram uses it as a weapon, but we can think of it that within our hearts there are demons of lust and greed and anger and pride, and this makes the heart hard and non-responsive to bhakti. And so with Balaram's plow, he can prepare the field of the heart and the mind of the devotee to receive seeds of bhakti. As guru or adi guru, the guru's role is to offer these seeds of bhakti. Yasyat prasadan bhagavat prasado. Yasyat prasadan nagati kutopi. By the mercy of Guru, one receives Krishna. And by Krishna's blessings, one receives Guru. So the Guru represents Baladev, and we can think of Balaram's plow as preparing the field of our hearts. And then the club symbolizes strength and protection. The king holds the scepter or the club, symbolizing the protection of Dharma or the upholding of Dharma. And so, as Adi Guru, Balaram uses the club to decisively eliminate threats to spiritual practice and righteousness, like the teacher protects their pupils from negative influences. So, with the plow and the club, then, Balaram, he provides nourishment and protection of the devotee. He cultivates the positive practices of bhakti and also defends them, ensuring that the environment remains conducive to spiritual practice. And in this way, Balaram supports us as Guru, fostering our growth and protection. Let's go to the second topic, Balaram's pilgrimage. So after killing Balvala, Balaram began his pilgrimage. He visited many famous holy places, some that we know, some that we may not know, some that you may have visited. As you hear me describe some of the holy places, you can see if you're familiar with any of them. And just as another interesting note, when you read about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's travels around India, particularly South India, you'll find many of the same places that Balaram visited. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also went to those same holy places. So he went to Prayag, where he performed rituals for the, it's a very holy place, so he performed sacrifices there on the bank of the confluence of the Yamuna and the Ganges, and the Saraswati is also said to flow there. It's a very powerful place, very powerful confluence. He went to Gaya. If you remember, that's where Lord Chaitanya met his spiritual master, Ishvarapuri. There he performed oblations for his forefathers, even though his father Vasudeva and Ugrasen and his grandfather Ugrasen were still living. He nonetheless performed oblations for his earlier ancestors. He went to Mount Mahendra, where he saw Lord Parashuram. He went to the different places of pilgrimage along the Godavari River, as well as the rivers Veda, Pampa, and Bhimarti. In terms of the Veda River, it's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought 2 books on his travels from South India. One was the Brahma Samhita that he found in the Adikeshava temple. The other was the Krishna Karnamrita that he found among a community of devotee brahmanas, and this community lived at the confluence of the Veda and Krishna rivers. It's a place of temples, and so Chaitanya, he copied that manuscript, the Krishna Karnamrita, and he returned to Puri with those 2 books. Okay, so the Veda, the Pampa River, and then in South India, he visited sacred Venkata Hill. Any of you who have seen Venkateshwar or Balaji in Tirupati, that deity was also visited by Lord Balaram. He went to Kanchipuram, another place of many wonderful temples. There, I was there first when I was 9 years old, and I've returned since with Indrajit Maharaj, and once we took devotees from Poland on a tour in South India. The Sri Kavacha helped to organize that. One of the places we went was Kanchi, Vishnu Kanchi. He went to the Kaveri River. He went to Sri Rangam. And so that's another very, very famous pilgrimage place. Some of you may have visited. There's a very wonderful deity of reclining Vishnu, very large deity, Ranganath Ji. And so that deity was also seen by Balaram, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam. He went to Rishabha mountain, where Rishabdev left this world at Rishabha mountain. Actually, there is an ISKCON community there at Rishabha mountain. I've also visited that place. He went to Setu Banda, and there he gave many cows in charity. He went to Kanyakumari. My wife Sri Gandharvika is on this call, and she often says how Kanyakumari was one of the most beautiful pilgrimage places that she has visited. I haven't been there. To Kanyakumari, it is the southernmost tip of India. The furthest tip of India is Kanyakumari. So Lord Balaram was there. He went to Falgun Tirtha and bathed in the sacred Pancha Apsara lake. So Falgun is an interesting river. Mostly it's a dry riverbed. We used to hear this example a lot as a child. They would say that impersonalists, often their renunciation is like the Falgun River, or Falgu Vairagis. Falgu Vairagya is renunciation that is like the Falgu River. When you look at the Falgu River, it looks like a dry riverbed because it's just a sandy, dry riverbed. But if you put your hand inside the sand, beneath the surface, there is a river flowing. And so this example was given that the dry renunciant, they may externally look very renounced, but inside there will be many desires that are there, a river of desire flowing. And so rather than trying to rid oneself of desire, in bhakti, we cultivate the desire to love and serve and please Krishna. He then went to the kingdoms of Kerala and Trigarta. He visited a place holy to Shiva called Gokarna, and he went to the Dandaka forest. So if you remember, the Dandaka forest is where Sri Ramachandra went into exile. He bathed in Manutirtha, and finally he reached Prabhash Kshetra. It's a sacred place near to Dwaraka, and you'll find we'll discuss Prabhash Kshetra at the end of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. It's a bit sad for us to think about Prabhash. Okay, so we can pause here. And what will we take as our lesson from this description of Lord Balaram's pilgrimage? We can learn from this the importance of pilgrimage for nourishing bhakti. Pilgrimage is not just a physical journey, it's also a spiritual quest. It nourishes the soul, it nourishes the heart, it deepens devotion, it cleanses the heart of impurity. So performing service at such holy places, offering prayers at these holy places, hearing from the sadhus at such holy places, it is very powerful for the practice of bhakti. And that's why Indra Maharaj also likes to lead a yearly, annual Vrindavan Parikrama, an annual pilgrimage to these sacred places in Vrindavan during the month of Kartik. These sacred places, they hold transformative spiritual power, and they allow us to go deeper in our bhakti practice. It's also nice as a reset to step outside our daily routines, to go and retreat from the day-to-day lived experience, and just to take some time to think about our spiritual practice and to be more concentrated in our prayer and our spiritual engagement, so that when we go back to our routine, we are refreshed in our determination to cultivate devotion. We come with new perspective and new conviction. Let's go to our third topic. Our third topic is Balaram's peacemaking and sacrifice, verses 23 to 34. When Lord Balaram was at the end of his pilgrimage, when he was at Prabhash, he heard from the sages, he heard from the people that the battlefield of Kurukshetra had come to an end, that only the Pandavas and Duryodhana and just a few others had survived. And Balaram, he thought to himself that now the burden of the earth has been removed. That was Krishna's purpose. If you remember, Goddess Earth, Goddess Bhumi, had gone to Brahma and described how the demons were invading the earth. They were posing as the royal order. The armies were extending. There was the burden of unnecessary defense forces that were causing a great weight on the earth. And so Bhumi asked Brahma for help. Brahma asked Krishna to appear. And so Krishna appeared along with Balaram. And so once the Kurukshetra war had ended, Balaram thought, now the earth's burden has been removed. But he heard that the Pandavas and Duryodhana were still living. And so he went to Kurukshetra to try to make peace between them. And when he arrived, Yudhisthira, Krishna, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadev, they saw Balaram. They offered their respects to him. Bhima and Duryodhana were in the midst of a duel with their clubs. So they were basically fighting to the end. Balaram saw that Bhima was determined to kill Duryodhana. Duryodhana was determined to kill Bhima. And so what did he do? He tried to make peace. He tried to convince Bhima and Duryodhana to stop fighting one another, to make peace with one another. He said to Bhima, he said, you are unmatched in your strength. And he said to Duryodhana, you are unmatched in your skill. Duryodhana was his own student. It was Balaram who taught Duryodhana how to fight with the club. And he said, so the two of you, you are equally matched. And neither of you was able to gain advantage over the others. Better you stop fighting, make peace with one another, forgive one another. But he was unable to dissuade them. There was too much pain, too much hurt, too much had passed between them. Too many vows had been made. Bhima, he had vowed to destroy Duryodhana when Draupadi had been dragged before the Kuru assembly, and Dushasana had attempted to disrobe her. Bhima had vowed that he would kill Duryodhana and all his 100 brothers. And so it wasn't possible for Balaram to convince them. And so understanding that they would not stop fighting, Balaram left. He left the battlefield. He returned to Dvaraka. He was greeted by Ugrasen Maharaj, his grandfather, and other relatives. They were delighted to see him. And then Balaram returned to Naimisharanya, to where this story, today's narration, began. He returned to those sages. He reported to them that he had undertaken the pilgrimage as they had requested of him, that they knew he had killed the demon Balvala, and he asked the sages that they would help him to perform sacrifice, that he had put his weapons down, that he didn't wish to be involved anymore in any kind of fighting, and he wanted to perform sacrifice to just purify and free himself of this particular era in his pastimes of protecting and defending Dharma and punishing demons, destroying demons, removing the burden of the earth. And so the sages, they helped him to perform a number of fire sacrifices along with his wife Revati. He also took a sacred bath, and in appreciation for the support of the sages, Balaram, he blessed the sages. He gave them a transcendental vision of his eternal spiritual identity. They were able to see the entire universe within Balaram, and they were able to see him pervading all things. So, some wonderful paradoxical vision there. The whole universe is within him, and then he is within the entire universe. And so, after completing this sacrifice, Balaram, he's beautifully dressed and ornamented, along with his other family members. He looked very, very radiant, having performed this sacrifice. Sukadeva Goswami tells us Balaram performed countless other pastimes. It's impossible to describe them all, but these are some. He says, anyone who regularly remembers the amazing activities of the unlimited Lord Balaram at dawn and dusk will become very dear to Krishna. And that's how we become dear to Krishna, by becoming dear to Guru, by becoming dear to Vaishnavas. And so that's a hint for us. We approach Krishna through Sri Radha. We approach Krishna through Guru. We approach Gauranga through Nitai. And so we can reflect on that. We can also reflect on Balaram as the peacemaker. He makes efforts to reconcile conflicts, and we can think about that in relation to ourselves as well. Balaram reconciles the relationship between the living being and the Supreme Lord. In the mood of Guru, in the mood of the devotee, and he wants to help the wayward soul reconnect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and achieve a peaceful reconciling of that relationship. Balaram, in showing the sages this vision that all beings are in him and he is in all beings, also shows us how to be at peace in the world when we see all living beings as part and parcel of Krishna, and we see the world as within Krishna and that it belongs to Krishna. Then we will take an attitude of service in all of our dealings with all things and all beings. And that's the vision that the Guru gives to the lost soul. Okay, so we can conclude with a prayer. Dear Krishna, let Balaram's plow prepare our hearts as fertile fields where seeds of devotion might flourish, and let his club protect the sanctity of our devotional practices from the Balvala demons of lust and envy. Let Baladev guide us on our pilgrimages, both worldly and within, as we traverse and draw spiritual sustenance from holy places. May our journeys be more than mere travels. Let them be voyages that connect us with divine association, purify our consciousness, and deepen our devotion. In any conflicts that rend the fabric of our communities, inspire us to emulate Balaram's resolve for peace and reconciliation, imbued with the wisdom to recognize our shared divine essence as your parts and parcels. So let me acknowledge some of you who joined after I started speaking. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or reflections, please do put them in the chat. On Instagram, we have with us, let's see, lots have come, but not all here, still here. But we have, let me acknowledge, Damodar and Greg Dig, Induleka, that's Ingrid 108, Gandharva 108, Gorakata, Govinda Yoga, Davina Nirada Devidasi, Swat Umanyang, Gopinath 143, Sanjay Panchal, Ken Explores, official Rishi Oberoi, who says, Hari Hari, Indra Gopi, Devidasi, BKG, Nandu, the Siganamala, Ida Yoga, Bosnia, Rukmini Devidasi, it's Akanksh 09, and Radha Krishna Lila. Thank you for being here. There's also Shekwat. And on our Facebook page, we have with us Ananda Kirtan, joining from Mawulamba. Thank you for being here, Ananda. Ganga Seva is also here with a question or a comment. Ganga Seva says, Hare Krishna Sripala Prabhu, what is the significance of Lord Balaram and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on pilgrimage to the same places? This is very interesting. Thank you. Well, there is a significance, and that is that these places are very holy. And so whether 5,000 years ago or 500 years ago, then the Supreme Lords, Balaram and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are showing us the importance of travels to holy places. Travels to holy places nourish our bhakti. And so when we see that Balaram and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are visiting the same places, we get a sense these places must be very, very special and very ancient as well. They have existed for a long time. Particularly famous from those lists are Tirupati and Srirangam, as well Prabhash and others. Let's see. There is also, some commentary by our acharyas. Jiva Goswami says, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also repeats it. He says that Balaram didn't go to Jagannath Puri because there he's worshipped along with Jagannath and Subhadra, and he would be embarrassed seeing himself on the altar. Therefore, Jagannath Puri is not mentioned in the list. But otherwise, it could very well have been. It's just not there because Balaram was embarrassed to see his own deity. Thank you for the question, Ganga Seva. Achutananda says, there are so many holy places in India. Did Krishna or any of his avatars ever go to other countries or continents and create holy places there too? Good question, Achutananda. And what I can say is that the land of Bharat is special. The land where the Ganges flows, the land where the Yamuna flows, it is considered particularly holy. Therefore, Krishna and his avatars generally make their appearances in that holy land. And therefore, in that place, there are many holy places, such as Vrindavan, Mayapur, and these others that we were discussing today, Tirupati, Srirangam, and many, many others. Has the Lord gone to other countries and continents? I will say in recent years, there has been an expansion of Krishna's presence across the world with the installation of deities. In Sydney, Australia, we have Radha Gopinath. In Melbourne, we have Radha Vallabha, both deities installed, sets of deities installed by Srila Prabhupada. In Auckland, we have Radha Giridhari, also installed by Srila Prabhupada. Here in New York, we have Radha Govinda, installed by Srila Prabhupada, and Radha Murlidhara. And near to where you are, in London and outside of London in Watford, we have deities installed by Prabhupada, Radha Londonishwara, Radha Gokulananda. And so, yes, Krishna has expanded all over the world in the forms of these deities and made created holy places. These places where these deities are served, they are sacred tirthas. Particularly with Prabhupada's installing the deities and being present in those places. Bhagavatam, Yudhisthira Maharaj tells Narad Muni that sages such as yourself are verily holy places personified. Wherever you go, you create places of pilgrimage. And so wherever Prabhupada has traveled and lived and installed deities, he has created places of pilgrimage and established Krishna's presence in those places. So we mustn't overlook that, the potency of those places where the deity is served. Now, we can make some distinction, because you might say, now, oh, then what is the difference between Vrindavan in India and Vrindavan that we might that might have been created in the West with the installation of the deity? There is a difference. They are both holy because Krishna is served there. So when we say service to the Dham nourishes bhakti, it includes these holy places in the West as well. But there is a distinction. Krishna's presence in Vrindavan in India is eternal. Whether the deity is served there or not, whether it's completely covered over and forgotten or not, it remains as a holy place. However, the places where the deity is served in the West, they remain holy so long as the deity is present there. Once devotional service is no longer performed there, and the deity is taken somewhere else or lost, then they don't have the same sanctity. They're not eternal holy places as such. Of course, we will say wherever Prabhupada has gone, and wherever devotees remember Prabhupada's presence for having been in that place, then holiness can be experienced, and benefits and nourishment of bhakti can be achieved. But yes, we should take into account this distinction. There are holy places that are created by the activities of the devotees, bringing the Lord to that place. And there are holy places that are eternally holy. Thank you, Achutananda, for your question. Lakshmi Nishringa Priya joining us from the UK says, Haribol from the UK. Thanks for being here, Lakshmi Nishringa Priya. Kirtina says, infinite is in the finite. Thank you for a beautiful class. Infinite is in the finite. So some reflection there on the significance of these words. Thank you, Kirtina. Gopal Govindashyam says, Hare Krishna Sri Palad Prabhu and Assembly of Devotees. Happy to be back and reconnect with your wonderful association. Love the prayer. Thank you, Gopal Govindashyam ji. We're grateful to have you back, and thanks for just checking in and letting us know that you're there. Ganga Seva says, what they were experiencing or feeling by visiting these holy places in different yugas and different incarnations. Yeah, nice question. So what does the Lord experience when visiting a holy place? And that's a nice perspective to consider. We have a sense of what we can experience on visiting the holy place, but what does Krishna experience? And we can get a hint from this. We can get a hint of this by remembering some poetry by Vaishnavacharyas, which describe how when Krishna remembers previous incarnations and pastimes, sometimes he will smile. So, for example, there is a description in Padyavali describing how when Krishna was being put to bed by Mother Yasoda, she told him a bedtime story about Narasimhadev. And maybe Krishna smiled, remembering that incarnation, his incarnation as half a man, half a lion. Or another time when she was telling him the Ramayan Leela, then he entered into the ecstatic mood of Ram and he said, Lakshman, get me my bow and arrows. We will punish the demons. So we have a sense that when the Lord visits these places, then he remembers his previous pastimes and it brings some happiness, some joyfulness. There's something else that's going on, and that is setting an example. So in visiting holy places, Balaram is setting an example of the importance, telling us, teaching us, Lord Chaitanya is teaching us the importance and the power, significance of serving holy places or taking advantage of the power of holy places. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in describing the 5 most powerful practices of bhakti, he includes within them the service to the holy place. Sadhusanga, Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, he says Mathura Vasa, residing in Mathura. So that is a very specific, residing in Vrindavan or Mathura, but we can also reflect on it in a general sense of that it relates to the power of the Dham, the importance of serving the holy Dhams or taking advantage of the potency of the holy Dhams. One other thing to say here, and that is Shastra tells us that in visiting a holy place, you can get some benefit by bathing in the sacred river, by offering prayers in the temple that will purify material desires, attachments, sinful reactions. But greater power comes from hearing from Vaishnavas in those holy places. So keep that in mind. When you visit the holy place, don't overlook the Vaishnavas who are there. I was reflecting on this a lot during my last Kartik Parikrama in Vrindavan, that in each holy place we visit, there are pujaris who are serving the deity, or there are devotees who keep the temple clean. There are devotees who are bringing vegetables and flowers and making offerings. There are devotees who are chanting and singing prayers. There are devotees who are receiving pilgrims. And so I was trying to make a point of appreciating those devotees and acknowledging them as well. Trying to avoid, because we're told the Kanishta Adhikari just sees God and the deity and the guru, their guru, and they don't see the devotees. And the Madhyama Bhakta sees God, their guru, sees the Bhakta Sangha, sees other devotees. They make friendship with devotees who are at a similar level of spiritual advancement as them. They give guidance and support and encouragement to devotees who are junior to them. They reach out to share bhakti with those who are pious but ignorant of bhakti. And they make an effort to serve devotees who are senior to them and who are free of the tendency to criticize others or to disrespect others. So the Madhyama and the Uttama Bhaktas, what distinguishes them is their appreciation of Vaishnavas. Beyond their guru and the deity, they appreciate Vaishnavas. And so I was trying to make a point during the parikrama to really pay attention to these Vaishnavas who are there serving and protecting, maintaining the Dham as well. So thank you for your comments. Kangaseva says, thank you for the beautiful answers and guidance. You are most welcome. Just checking here on Instagram. Okay, we'll conclude. May you deepen your taste for hearing and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. May you deepen your taste for chanting Krishna's holy names with attention as japa and as kirtan. May you deepen your appreciation for the holy places, the places of Krishna's pastimes, both the eternal holy places of Mathura and Vrindavan and Sridham Mayapur, as well as those places that have been revealed and created by the devotees, by the activities of pure devotees such as Srila Prabhupada. May you deepen in your appreciation for serving Sri Vigraha, for serving the deity, and may you deepen your love and affection and your service, your appreciation, and your expressions of gratitude to Vaishnavas at every opportunity. And through these practices, we pray that your heart softens with compassion and that you are moved to share the treasures of bhakti with others. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai